Chapter 577 The Dark Abyss Appears Again. I'm glad that you're all here, but I have something unfortunate to tell you, said Councilman Zhu Meng expressionlessly. As he spoke, he walked toward the edge of the hall in his black boots, standing close to the barrier engraved with patterns of dragons and phoenixes. He paused his speech. The group could only see his fairly depressed back. A dark abyss has appeared 30 kilometers to the north. Councilman Zhu Meng finally finished. As he mentioned the dark abyss, he was saying it with a sigh, as if he was not willing to say the term too loudly. Dark abyss? Why would something like that appear so close to the city? Is there a mistake? Yelled one of the hunters. Heavens, only 30 kilometers away. Are we seriously going to be overrun by the undead? Yelled a middle-aged magician. Mo Fan scanned his surroundings and discovered that everyone's expressions had changed. He was clueless what the term, dark abyss, meant since he had come from a different place. He had no choice but to ask the leader of the team, Zhang Zishan. What's a dark abyss? Why did everyone panic after hearing it? He asked quickly. Zhang Zishan recovered from his astonishment. It seemed like he was also having a hard time believing the information. Do you know what I thought the most terrifying thing in this world was? Asked Zhang Zishan instead. What? Asked Mo Fan. It was a commander-level undead that bit one of my arms off. That thing almost killed me, said Zhang Zishan, who added after his face twisted badly, but I no longer have the same thought after I saw a dark abyss. Zhang Zishan recalled his past. He remembered the scene so clearly that his eyes were filled with wisps of blood from fear. The dark abyss can be described as a burning pot of hell with its lid removed. You can clearly see the edge of hell when you stand close to the edge. Hundreds of ghosts uttering cries of hatred, thousands of zombies munching at anything that is moving, including their own kind. 10,000 demons, waving their claws, waiting for fresh blood to be poured on them. I was unlucky enough to encounter the smallest dark abyss possible when I first became a hunter. My friend, whom I grew up with since childhood, fell into it. I watched him fall, watched the countless hands drag him down as the undead crawled onto him, forming a giant ball of undead. At that time, I was sure that if anyone mentioned that going to hell was the greatest curse and punishment ever, falling into a dark abyss was on a similar level. The only thought I had left back then was to pray that I wouldn't fall into it, too. Mo Fan could feel goosebumps all over his body after hearing Zhang Zishan's description. The dark abyss is the entrance to hell. Maybe it wouldn't be as terrifying if it simply remained in the same place, but it also has a shocking trait, added Mu Bai. What trait? Asked Mo Fan. Not only will it continue to expand after devouring lives, its space unpredictability is the biggest problem, too, said Mu Bai. What's space unpredictability? It means you will never know where it will appear, and where it will move to in the next second, said Zhang Zishan. How is that possible? Mo Fan stammered. Mo Fan understood that the dark abyss was a hole filled with countless undead. It was reasonable for it to be capable of devouring anything nearby. However, it was unbelievable that such a hole would also drift in space to elsewhere. That didn't make sense at all. When the hatred of the dark abyss reaches a certain level, the space will crumble and break down, which will allow the dark abyss to teleport elsewhere. As for how it does that, we are still totally clueless. Not many people have walked out from a dark abyss. Even a forbidden magician would die in the burning lava of hell, said a hoarse voice. The person speaking was none other than Councilman Zhu Meng, who had a worried look. The energy is strong enough to affect space. Mo Fan fell into deep thought. It was Mo Fan's first time learning about something related to space. However, since the space element existed, it was possible for something to drift in space, too. Mo Fan did not expect that the land of the undead would have a dark abyss that even magic could not explain. However, in the world he came from, there were many things that science could not explain, either. If the dark abyss is unpredictable, why are we worrying, then? Is it because the dark abyss will expand 30 kilometers and devour this whole place, too? Is it really that crazy? Asked Mo Fan. Expanding 30 kilometers isn't possible. Otherwise, it wouldn't just be the entrance to hell. it would simply be hell on earth, but the last time the dark abyss appeared. Zhang Zishan trailed off. That's right, the last time the dark abyss appeared, it was more than 100 kilometers away from the city. Councilman Zhu Meng took over when he heard the people mentioning it. As a matter of fact, around half a year ago, the dark abyss also appeared in a valley around 600 kilometers away. Not many people know about it since it was so far away, and quite close to the drifting sand river. Mo Fan was startled. He immediately asked Councilman Zhu Meng about the exact time. It's the same day. Mo Fan was shocked. Around half a year ago, that was when Mo Fan was at the Burning Valley, northwest of the drifting sand river. The fire calamity had cleansed the Burning Valley back then, but at the same time, another strange phenomenon occurred: the restlessness of the drifting sand river. Everyone thought it was some side effect of the fire calamity, yet Xinxia, who was a psychic, was extremely confident that the creatures were not panicking because of the fire calamity. It turned out that the reason was because of the dark abyss. The day that the dark abyss had appeared to the west of the drifting sand river was the same day Mo Fan and the others were experiencing the strange behavior of the drifting sand river. The drifting sand river was a terrifying place, as no one knew how many white sand demons were buried under the white sand. However, Mo Fan was astounded by the fact that a small dark abyss had made the whole population of the drifting sand river, which covered over half a province, restless. So the second time it appeared, prodded Mo Fan. That was 3 months ago, around the Shanxi area, and my students just happened to be there. Spoke up a soldier wearing a black cape coming down the stairs, looking at Mo Fan. You are? Mo Fan was confused when he saw the man looking at him. He's the chief military instructor of the ancient capital military. You seriously don't know any of them? Asked Zhang Li, saluting Fei Zhao. Chapter 578 Disaster of the Undead Ruler. Fei Zhao ignored Zhang Li, who was trying to fawn upon him, and went up to Mo Fan. I was the one who contacted you. Zhang Xiaohou is my student. Fei Zhao wore a smile. It was obvious that he had received the latest news from Mo Fan. Oh, sorry, I didn't recognize your voice, Mo Fan smiled awkwardly. Mo Fan did contact him through the phone, yet to his surprise, the guy looked fairly young despite his aged voice. He was in his 30s, yet he was already the chief military instructor of the ancient capital military. This Fei Zhao was definitely no ordinary person. It's fine. To be honest, I was quite impressed. No one would dare go there within a year, knowing that a dark abyss has appeared, but you went, and you even brought my student back, said Fei Zhao. Was? I bet you didn't know an outsider like me had no idea what a dark abyss was, replied Mo Fan. Ha ha ha, I didn't mean that, but my student didn't mention you only once. His admiration of you greatly surpassed that toward me and other instructors here. But, you're no ordinary person yourself either. I've heard many stories about you. Fei Zhao extended his hand and gave Mo Fan a friendly handshake. There were at least 40 magicians in the room, with the majority of them being intermediate magicians. There were also a few advanced magicians, too. They could not help but wonder who the kid was. Not only did the councilman know him, even the chief military instructor of the ancient capital was complimenting him, yet it seemed like he was only an intermediate magician based on his badge. Mo Fan wore a humble smile, yet he realized that the people nearby were looking at him with envy. He did not dare to chat with Fei Zhao any further and quickly switched the topic to the business at hand. Fei Zhao took over Zhu Meng's role and explained, the second dark abyss appeared around 100 kilometers away from the city. My student was caught in it and almost lost his life. As for the third time, it was only 30 kilometers away from the outer walls, a place that was still considered the city's outskirts just a little while ago. It's getting closer every time, said a hunter. Exactly, every time the dark abyss appears, it's closer to our city. Didn't they say the dark abyss appears in random places? Could it be a coincidence? Said Zhang Zishan. We do hope that it's a coincidence, but considering that it has happened 3 times in a row, we have the urge to think otherwise, said the commander beside Zhu Meng, who had been silent for a long time. The commander was mainly responsible for the defense of the outer walls. Every battle mage on the 10-plus kilometer long northern walls was under his command. So you've gathered us here to deal with the Dark Abyss? There's no way we can do anything against it. We're only a bunch of intermediate magicians, said someone. The place where Dark Abyss once appeared will have a strong presence of death, so many warrior-level or commander-level undead will gather there fairly soon. I hope everyone here will guard the walls tonight. Once the higher-ranked undead show any signs of approaching the walls, you will eliminate them at once, said Councilman Zhu Meng. I don't mind as long as you're not sending us to investigate the Dark Abyss, said a student. Don't worry, Councilman, we might not be able to do anything to the Dark Abyss, but we'll surely eliminate the demon beasts trying to stir up chaos when the Dark Abyss appears. It's our job. I'm fine with that. I will guard throughout the night. Count me in. Me too. The magicians were relieved when they learned that they were not messing with the Dark Abyss. Everyone had come here to contribute in the war against the undead. They would not mind guarding the walls for the night. Since there were around 40 intermediate magicians and 4 or 5 advanced magicians, they could still hold a ruler-level creature off. As everyone expressed their willingness to lend a hand, a deep roar rocked the dim sky in the north, shaking the walls vigorously. Everyone felt a sudden pain in their ears, as if a great shockwave coming from the horizon had just slammed into the walls. Councilman Zhu Meng, Instructor Fei Zhao, and the commander of the north walls were startled. They immediately glanced at a black figure in the distance. Mo Fan followed their gaze and saw the same pitch-black figure that he had seen when he first went up to the walls. This time, he was able to get a clearer look as he was closer, with a greater visual impact. It's the creature again. It's trying to break through the walls since more undead have gathered due to the Dark Abyss, exclaimed Zhu Meng furiously. This is bad. The undead ruler is already commanding an army of 10 million undead. It's pretty much unstoppable with the Dark Abyss nearby. We have to request backup, declared the military advisor. We are running out of men, replied Commander Lu Shu. It won't work, our force isn't strong enough. The undead never stop coming. If we can't hold the night, the northern walls will fall to the undead ruler, and the city's north will be covered in blood, stated Fei Zhao. It seems like we'll have to commence the plan we decided on earlier, Zhu Meng frowned. Councilman, that's too risky. We'll be trapped among the undead if anything goes wrong, protested the advisor. Advisor Zhu, as long as I, Zhu Meng, am in this city, I will not allow a single undead to break through. We might not have enough men to defend against the invasion, but we have the chance to kill the undead general, promised Zhu Meng righteously. The reason why Zhu Meng was sitting in the highest position in the country's magic association was not because he was in control of many renowned families or he was supported by many factions behind the scenes, but because he would always step forward during every disaster, leading the men. It was something that the authorities rotting in their chairs in the meetings between higher-ups as they talked about stratagems on paper could never do. He had secured his current position with his boldness. No way, that won't work. If the plan fails, who's going to take command of the walls? Everything will fall into a mess. Advisor Zhu had no intention of compromising. So how do you think we're going to stop the Phantom Tyrant Emperor's attack? Asked Zhu Meng in return. We will come up with one. They will be less than 3 kilometers away in less than an hour, said Zhu Meng. I'm still against it. Advisor Zhu had no intention of compromising. What if I'm included, too? Among the magicians that had gathered, a man in a black fur coat and sharp eyebrows stepped forward, bearing a faint, yet confident smile. The others switched their gaze to that person. Some from the Hunter Union recognized the person straight away, leaving them astonished. Mo Fan glanced at the guy, and felt him to be extremely familiar. Chapter 579 Senior Hunter. A Senior Hunter. Oh, Senior Hunter. When did you come to the ancient capital? Who's this? Why are you calling him a Senior Hunter? Someone from the Magic Association nudged a hunter beside him. You don't know Senior Hunter Du Xiao? He's an expert on the Zon ranking, replied the hunter, with a hint of admiration. Mo Fan did know who the person was. When the Mother Scale Skin Phantom was stirring up chaos in Pearl Institute's auditorium, This guy was the one who descended from the sky riding a blue creature with large horns. He totally remembered how imperious the sight was. Meanwhile, his subordinate was a feminine man wearing a leather jacket, who was somehow related to the Clearski Hunter Agency. Ling Ling always referred to him as Yao Nan. Mo Fan glanced around and saw Yao Nan, who was as skinny as a woman, and wearing a faint blue jacket. He did not step forward into the limelight after Senior Hunter Du Xiao, but went up to Mo Fan instead and smiled. So, tired of killing demon beasts, so you came to try killing undead instead? Mo Fan shrugged and said, I didn't expect to stumble into so many familiar faces here in the ancient capital. Well, since the undead are stirring up chaos here, didn't you think that us few who like to poke our noses into other people's business would also be here? Laughed Yao Nan. Mo Fan did not chat with Yao Nan, but fixed his eyes on Senior Hunter Du Xiao instead. He had met this respected Senior Hunter a long time ago, yet he had never witnessed his true strength. He most likely would have the chance to do so in this upcoming battle to protect the walls. As expected, Senior Hunter Du Xiao was very influential. Advisor Zhu, who had firmly insisted on not putting the lives of the leaders here at risk, felt at ease when he saw the guy. Ha 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 ha! You came at the right time. Zhu Meng went up to greet Du Xiao. If I knew a gathering signal would summon the famous Senior Hunter Du Xiao here, I would simply give up on my plant element and focus on my light element instead, the instructor smiled. Advisor Zhu, I can't guarantee that everyone will be unharmed during the battle against the undead ruler, but at least our chance of winning is higher now. At the very least, I will bring some of them back alive. The Dark Abyss has appeared, and the Phantom Tyrant Emperor is commanding the undead inside the Dark Abyss. If we don't kill it immediately, more warrior level and commander level undead will be awakened. It will simply break a huge hole open in the northern walls. Senior Hunter Du Xiao cut straight to the topic with a stern look. With you here, Advisor Zhu compromised in the end. It was true that he could not find another way to resolve the situation within an hour. He had no choice but to proceed with the strategy that they had prepared earlier. Alright, we have enough super magicians here. It's time to allocate the men, said Fei Zhao. The Phantom Tyrant Emperor has a bunch of skeleton generals, zombie generals, and phantom generals protecting it. The skeleton generals and zombie generals are not a big deal for us. We can easily stomp our way through, but the White Serene Ghosts led by the commander-level ghost officials will be huge trouble to us if their numbers are too overwhelming. If I'm not mistaken, I don't think any of us here have control over the psychic element, said Lu Shu. That's our biggest threat in eliminating the Phantom Tyrant Emperor. Either way, we still have to eliminate the creature. In our original plan, it's the most difficult part of the plan, but, said Zhu Meng, while stroking his beard. Councilman Zhu Meng turned around and glanced at the 40-some magicians who had expressed their willingness to participate in the battle. Everyone, I'm sorry, but the situation is much worse than we described earlier. We'll need your help to eliminate the Phantom Tyrant Emperor. Of course, us super magicians will handle the Phantom Tyrant Emperor. We only need you to get rid of the biggest threat, the White Serene Ghost officials and the White Serene Ghosts under their command, said Councilman Zhu Meng. The group remained silent. The truth was, they had clearly heard the conversation between the leaders. However, going out of the city and fighting against the undead was a whole different story than defending the walls. It would most likely be a one-way trip. Everyone, our operation here is precisely planned. If it weren't for the fact that every soldier available was allocated to protect the walls, we wouldn't be gathering everyone here with 4 gathering signals. Don't worry, you won't be fighting the commander-level creatures, nor are you being asked to fight packs of warrior-level creatures. You just need to keep an eye on the light formations and make sure they work, so we can defend ourselves from the psychic disturbances of the White Serene Ghosts, the commander explained in detail when he saw the hesitation among the magicians. Councilman Zhu Meng is going out there fighting in the front line. How can we back off now? A retired battle mage stepped forward. The city lies behind the city walls, where my parents and family are. So, please count me in. I don't feel like leaving such an important task in someone else's hands. A hunter with scars on his face stepped forward boldly, too. The students were the most passionate, as fighting side by side with super magicians was considered a huge glory for them. Several of them quickly signed up. I'm joining too. If I want to back away, I would have done so when I saw the signal. Count me in. Zhang Zishan glanced at the students under his lead. He was about to ask their opinions when Zhang Li, who wanted to contribute, and Zhou Ming, who was fairly righteous, volunteered for the battle. Mu Bai hesitated for a while before deciding to join, too. The handsome student, on the other hand, did not speak. He seemed to have no intention of putting his life at risk. It was something they could not force anyone to take part in. Zhang Zishan did not say anything. He patted the man's shoulder, signaling him to leave the place if he did not want to join the operation. Zhang Zishan, how about you? Asked Zhou Ming. I promised your teacher to look after you. I'll go for sure, Zhang Zishan smiled. How diligent, but I feel like our teacher won't be fond of you still, mocked Zhang Li. It doesn't matter. I'm a man of my words. Zhang Zishan glanced at Mo Fan instead. Mo Fan shrugged and said, I'm here on vacation, so I wish you all good luck. Seriously, Mo Fan? Said Zhou Ming disappointedly. Mo Fan did not explain further. He was not obliged to save the world. Besides, even though the walls were guarded by magicians, they would still need more help here. It was enough for him to fulfill his role as a magician. He would leave the risky operation to those who were passionate enough to contribute and protect their nation while putting their lives at risk. Humph, I thought you're impressive, but you're still a coward nonetheless. You're not worthy to be called a magician, said Zhang Li, as if he had suddenly become superior to Mo Fan. Asshole, if you say another word, I don't mind hanging your head out on the walls to drive evil away before the undead dig your intestines out. Mo Fan spat at Zhang Li coldly. All right, everyone can make their own choices. Zhang Zishan quickly interfered. Meanwhile, Yao Nan, who was standing aside, uttered a weird chuckle. What are you laughing at? Snapped Zhang Li, his face colorful. Yao Nan remained laughing. After a while, he finally said to Zhang Li, Hey fatty, if everyone who the man you just scolded as a coward has saved simply spit at you, it would be enough to roll you away like a rolling wave spell. Chapter 580 Forced to Join. Zhang Li glanced at the feminine man and yelled unpleasantly, Who do you think you are? I'm Yao Nan, kid, watch your mouth. Otherwise, the method Mo Fan just told you is merely a child's trick to me, Yao Nan smiled back. The super magicians had finished discussing the strategy of when to commence the operation, when to send out the group of magicians to activate the light formations, and when to annihilate the white serene ghost officials. The advanced magicians will keep the commander-level undead busy. The Phantom Tyrant Emperor will be protected by quite a number of undead officials. Remember, don't try to kill them. You just need to keep them busy, said Commander Lu Shu. There were 4 or 5 advanced magicians who had responded to the summons to the tower. On top of that, they would send out half of the advanced magicians guarding the walls, too. As such, there would be more than 20 advanced magicians joining the battle. The rest were required to protect the walls from the undead. The number of intermediate magicians was the highest. There were at least 200 of them, including the battle mages. Their main role was to supply cover fire and split the undead army into smaller groups. The most crucial part of the plan was to eliminate the White Serene Ghost officials and their army of White Serene Ghosts. They did not need to sacrifice their lives in exchange for victory. Yao Nan, you will lead these magicians. Make sure they are safe from the undead before they finish establishing the formations, Zhu Meng said to Yao Nan. Not a problem, but I've got a little request, Yao Nan saluted with a smile. What is it? Asked Councilman Zhu Meng. Put that kid Mo Fan under me. Yao Nan's eyes flickered playfully. Hearing this, Mo Fan had the urge to give Yao Nan 2 words. Fuck you. I'm sorry, I didn't say I was joining the operation, he piped up shamelessly. Councilman Zhu Meng immediately glared at Mo Fan and dragged him out of the crowd. Kid, I'm telling you, Here is no Hangzhou. Without the giant snake, you have no place to negotiate with me. Enough with your nonsense and get your ass into the group. Councilman Zhu Meng was completely using the opportunity to get his revenge. He would not interfere if anyone else was not willing to participate, but in Mo Fan's case, Zhu Meng had no intention of going easy on him. How capable was this kid at Hangzhou, riding the totem snake when he was fighting against the Silver Sky Ruler? Even a councilman like him had never made such a bold move. The key to winning the battle was the safety of the magicians in charge of the light formations. With someone as resourceful and shameless as Mo Fan, they would have a higher chance of winning the battle. Take him, use him however you want. If he dares to run away, I'll write a letter to Pearl Institute immediately and ask the dean to expel him. Councilman Zhu Meng shoved Mo Fan toward Yao Nan. Thank you, Councilman. Yao Nan burst out laughing in an eerie manner. Yao Nan ignored Mo Fan's grumbling and proceeded to count his men. Yao Nan was fairly reputable among the hunters, thus they were more than willing to be placed under his command. The number of hunters was the highest, but when the remaining students, people from the magic associations, and other factions learned that Yao Nan was an advanced magician, no one had any objections. Mo Fan had to say, it was his first time being involved in a war. The wars here no longer involved killing between humans for personal gains and benefits, but wars between the dead and the living. It had been the same for a few thousand years. When Zhang Kong asked Mo Fan to join the army, he had always rejected the offer. He was not a fan of war, not because he did not want to protect the people behind the walls, but he did not like the sense of being minuscule. Even as an intermediate magician, he was playing a very minor role in the fight. There were more than 200 intermediate magicians involved in the operation. Even with his double innate element, having him in the war would not make any difference. He was not the only factor deciding the outcome of the war, yet there was a high risk that he would be killed in it. A situation that Mo Fan had no control over. It was something he really disliked. Lumps of black clouds connected to the vast land ruled by the undead in the distance, the same direction the pitch-black figure was approaching the walls from. It was the same sight that Mo Fan had seen before. The creature had undead-like surging tides around it, like angry mobs consisting of starving, homeless civilians usurping their ruler under the lead of a new leader, just so they could live inside the warm, cozy walls. The longer the dark abyss lasted, the stronger the hatred and presence of death it would produce, so strong that some of the zombies, skeletons, and phantoms would evolve earlier than expected. The undead officials that were supposed to sleep for another 10 to 100 years would also open their coffins and show up in this icy world. The undead were stricter when it came to ranks. The higher-leveled ones could command the low-leveled ones however they wanted, as the low-leveled undead simply had no brains, nor any goals. If there was a voice guiding them, they were more than willing to obey, with no fear of death, only thirst and hunger driving them toward the living things. A stronger hatred would gather a higher number of undead, hence resulting in a stronger presence of death. Even the humans standing on the walls tens of kilometers away could smell the stench of rotting flesh sweeping toward them like a sea breeze. Thunderous cries came endlessly from the distance. At the start, they were only strong enough to make the walls shudder slightly, but as time passed, the roars became deafening, feeling like they were going to break one's eardrums. When trying to express your fear to the companion standing beside you, there was a chance that they could not even hear you. The magnificent tower stood right at the center of the northern walls. Over 200 intermediate level or above magicians gathered there. After giving the order, with Councilman Zhu Meng, Commander Lu Shu, Chief Military Instructor Fei Zhao, and Senior Hunter Du Xiao in the lead, the group of magicians left that perfect line of defense against the undead and charged toward the pitch-black figure bringing fear to humanity. Unlike Mo Fan, who was simply scared of dying, many magicians that strove for glory were already imagining themselves being rewarded greatly after securing the bottle's victory. They could tell their friends that they had taken part in a war against a ruler-level creature. A war to kill a ruler-level creature. If the magician were lower than that, they would even share the news to earn some complimentary comments from their friends.